All right. I would like to call this June 16th, 2020 meeting, a special meeting of the Northfield Township Board to order. And I'll say the invocation today. Dear God, we ask your blessing upon all the citizens of Northfield Township. We ask your blessing and guidance for all of us as we try to serve our township at this meeting. Please be with us and give us wisdom. Amen.
Amen.
Hello?
Okay. Oh, there's
Hello?
Wayne.
Wade.
Yes,
Okay.
am I in?
You're in. Good. Okay. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance
to
to the flag
of the United States of America
and
and to the republic
to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under
God,
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 indivisible, with
indivisible,
liberty and justice for
liberty
all.
and justice for all.
Thank you. Please call the roll, Clerk Manley.
Bellinger,
Here.
Chick,
Here.
Docket,
Yes.
Otto,
Here.
Manley, here, Zelenak,
Present.
Chockley,
Here.
all here.
All here, and Mr. Ains, and members of the public. So now we have an opportunity for call to the public. So anyone out there who's listening would like to speak to us, please raise your hand, and you have 3 minutes. State your name and your address, and then share whatever you need to with us, and we look forward to hearing from you. So I'll look and see if we see anybody with their hands up.
I'm not seeing anybody with a hand up at this time.
Okay, good. All right. Thank you. Okay, now we have, board member response to call to the public. We don't have any call to the public. So then the first agenda item is to discuss wages and compensation for part-time employees. And I don't know how many of you had an opportunity to read my memo today, and Mr. Ains wrote a memo too.
Was that in the package, Ms. Chockley and Ms. Strains?
In the package. Well,
Yes.
it was emailed. Mine was emailed, and so was Mr. Ains.
So I'm sorry, it needs to be in the package for discussion. So I
Okay.
don't want to discuss either of them. To me, we're here to talk about Miss Starbucks.
Mhm.
I may say Miss Patrick at times, is she has an opportunity to go somewhere else. She has asked us to consider if we would increase her pay.
Mhm.
And I think that should be the conversation.
I
Okay,
agree.
okay.
And I have a
Well-
proposal is that Miss Starbucks, when we hired her under Miss Patrick's, so I might interchange the names, is we hired, the job position was between 45 and 50. And we hired at the $45 an hour rate because she did not have municipal experience. Miss Starbuck now has municipal experience. And so I would say that, we have trained her and she has a commodity now, and it's a matter of we want to pay for that commodity. And if we took the high rate of $50 and did the 1.06%, the 1.04%, and the 1.02% raises that we have given during her tenure, it would come out to be, I think, $56.22. And if you calculated that, that would give her a pay rate of $58,469. And I would say that would increase it to about $8,819. And my suggestion and my motion would be that we pay Ms. Patrick $56.22 to accommodate her experience in the fact that we would like to keep her. And sorry, be Miss Starbucks.
Is that your motion, Ms. Zelenak?
My motion is that we would increase Miss Miss Starbucks' pay to $56.22, and that would be an increase, I believe, of $8,819.80 of her current pay. I may not have all the decimals correct, and that would be based on her experience she has gained with the municipality that she has worked with.
I'll
I think
support.
that would be about $8,818, give or take, if I have all my numbers correct.
Who's speaking right now?
It would be
Yes.
Mr. Dockett.
Ms.
Ms. Zelenak is speaking.
Who's speaking right now?
Lenore.
Ms. Zelenak is speaking.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I wish they would say who's speaking because I can't tell because I can't see them.
Okay.
Okay, so that was me, Ms. Zelenak speaking, Mr. Dockett.
Thank you.
So
Right.
that is
Jackie.
my motion.
And
Well,
this is
agenda-
Jackie speaking, and I support the motion.
okay, so I would like to have some discussion at this point, and I understand what Ms. Zelnok is trying to do with that motion, and it's a reasonable way to approach it, but we have more employees than just Ms. Starbuck, and I think, and I have had some conversation today with our labor attorney and with MERS, and that is to support some of the items that I put into my wages and compensation memo for you all to consider today. And I'd like to discuss some of that, before we move on with a single isolated item. Ms. Chick, you have your hand up. I'll let you interject here.
Yeah, well, my feeling is that the purpose of this meeting initially was to address Ms. Starbuck's request. And then we added on additional staff members. My issue with this is that Ms. Starbuck provided all the information that we needed to make a decision and to discuss that request. We don't have all the information on any increases for other staff members. I'd like to see figures on, 1% increase, 2% increase, everything else, but we don't have that available. So I
Yeah.
think we could do that at another meeting, but I think we should just go forward with Ms. Starbuck's issue today.
Okay, I do have some input. And did any of you have an opportunity to read my memo this afternoon?
Oh, yeah.
I did.
Okay.
I
Good.
actually heard about your memo, Ms. Chockley, through my employee. So
Really?
I was very
Okay.
busy with my mother. And so, no, I did not have opportunity to read it because it
Okay.
came in so late.
Okay, and that's fine. This has been quite an attempt to move on something that's important to our employees and is important to Ms. Starbuck. And I thought that this would be a good opportunity for us to discuss policy as relates to our part-time employees. And this would also take care of Ms. Starbuck's issues with her employment and provide appropriate compensation for her also. So what I'd like
Is anyone else going to get to talk here other than the supervisor?
Right, we all have our hands up too.
eventually,
Okay. I have something to say when it comes my turn, but I can't understand much about what's happening at the meeting. But
okay,
I think everybody should have something to say instead of you just keep pushing on what you want.
well, I need to make sure that people understand where.
Well, we already know you sent us a letter. You
We read
sent
the memo.
the letter. We read the letter. You don't need to keep pounding us on it.
I think there are policy issues that the board needs to be concerned about at this
I think
point.
we read about them.
Mr. Dockett, please don't
Yes.
interrupt. Mr.
Well,
Dockett,
I think that we all should be able to have something to say.
yes, and you will have an opportunity. Unless you'd like me to have the last word, I'd be happy to do that. Okay. So having the conversation with our labor attorney was pretty important to have done. And so I did call her because my concern is that we have a policy that works across the board, and it's not just an isolated situation with an individual, because we are going to have other employees that are going to come and say, oh, but what about me? And I think it's important that we have an objective policy that provides the benefits to our part-time employees. And I also believe that we do need to provide the additional benefits to our part-time employees. I think it's a matter of fairness, and I think it will help also with the morale in the office, especially for the part-time employees. So there are 5 elements that I believe are appropriate for us to discuss as relates to the benefits that would or could be available to our part-time employees. The most important is to pay an appropriate wage. We never did the fee study. I mean, not the fee study, we never did the salary study. So I think there are some of our employees that are paid too little. That's number one. So we do need to take a look at that in the next fiscal year.
I think you're being very unfair.
Mr. Dockett, number 2 would be, my suggestion is to provide a 10% pension contribution, which is consistent with the current agreement for our other full-time employees. And this would take an amendment to our agreement with MERS, which is not a complicated thing to do. And I did speak with MERS today, and that can be easily done. Number 3 would be to provide a health insurance buyout, which I believe would be appropriate, paid quarterly. So if they're still with us after a quarter, they do get a portion of what the buyout would be based on their fraction of the full-time hours worked. And then to provide paid time off based on the fraction of full-time hours that they work according to the same schedule as full-time employees. So say a full-time employee has been here like 5 years and they get 15 days a year. A half-time employee would get 7.5 days. So, and then the holiday pay would be based on the fraction of the full-time hours worked. All of these things could be done. They're individual decisions that the board could make to put into a resolution that we could adopt at a meeting early in July. So what I'm asking for is some idea of how the board feels about these different elements of providing a more consistent and fair package to our part-time employees, and have that available in July as a resolution. And that would also help us take care of some of the problems that we have with our employee handbook not being completed. Okay, so those are my suggestions for this. And if we were to do this, set it up like this for for all of our employees, but also for Ms. Starbuck, it would end up being an appropriate amount of increase in compensation, which would take care of the benefit issue for her. So I think it behooves us to look at this more broadly than a single employee, because we will be inappropriately providing special benefits to a single person. I did talk to Stacy Belisle. She would be willing to answer board's questions about this. I do think we need to be careful and be consistent across the board. Okay, so I'll allow whoever, let's see, I can't tell who's had their hand up the longest.
It would have been Tawn.
I think Tawn.
After Jackie, or after Janet, excuse me.
Okay, so Tawn would be next. Okay,
Yes.
Go ahead, Tawn.
Part-time employment, a byproduct of part-time employment.
Who's speaking? Who's speaking?
This is Tawn.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Tawn, yep. Thanks, Wayne. A normal byproduct of part-time employment is no benefits. People who choose to work only part-time do so because it fits their lifestyle. and it's their preference. It is their choice. It's their choice to be part-time and working. Offering benefits to part-time employees could increase the expenses significantly. And we're amidst the fear of a reduced budget due to the decrease in money received to our township from the state of Michigan. If we want to talk about pay increases is one thing, but opening the can of worms for benefits, I think, is going down the wrong path. I would not be supporting that. We do have, or we could revisit our PTO, that part-time employees could accrue PTO, maybe in a different manner than which they are. Something we could review. But tonight's discussion was specifically about Yvette's request and so forth. I don't feel that offering benefits to part-time employees is appropriate. I really don't. But certainly compensation, wage or potential raises, that can certainly be something I would entertain. And we have a lot of valued employees, and I understand, that they deserve good compensation. But I do not wish to open a can of worms of benefits. And as you even mentioned, Marlene, that we have to be careful. Well, I think the best way to be careful is to not open that can of worms. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next person with their hand up.
Kathy.
Oh, I was gonna say, I thought it was Janet. Okay. My 2 cents on this, again, I think
Who's speaking?
sorry, Wayne, it's Kathy.
Who?
Kathy.
Kathy, you got to speak a little slower so Wayne and others can hear as well.
Okay. Can you hear me, Wayne?
Yeah, but I don't know who you are.
Okay. Anyways. Again, I thought we were here for Yvette and to talk about her compensation and what we can do for her. As far as all the other part-timers, again, I think they could come to us individually if they are looking for other options. Part-time employees, you're part-time, unfortunately, you don't have those benefits. You don't have a pension, you don't have insurance. I don't know of any place that offers those to part-time employees. There are options if they do want to put for retirement. I think we do need to look at raises, but at this time, it might not be the time to be doing raises right now of this large amount for everybody, if that's what everybody's looking for, as we're looking to cut the budget. Again, I think we're here for Ms. Starbuck, and I agree with Lenore and her numbers, and I think that would be a fair wage for her. If we do this for part-timers, why would our full-timers stay full-time? I'm sure that Christina would go back to part-time. Emily would probably want to go part-time then. It's why you go full-time. You go full-time for benefits, not part-time. So I think we should be focusing on Ms. Starbuck right now.
Thanks, Jackie.
Next.
Oh, can I have one other thing? The salary study.
Sure.
As far as I know, we've been asking for this for 3.5 years. We still don't have it.
Yes.
We've passed this to the manager. We've asked about it numerous times. We
Who's
still
talking?
salary study.
Who's
So
talking?
maybe some of those wages can be put
Kathy's
somewhere else.
talking, Mr. Dockett.
Kathy
Okay.
Manley.
All right. Okay. Sorry.
Go ahead, Miss Manley.
So, again, we've just been asking for the salary study, haven't gotten it. And again, just something else that we haven't gotten that we wanted from the manager. So that's it for now.
Jackie had something to say.
Okay. Ms. Chick?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Wayne, this is Janet talking. Chick. Janet Chick.
Janet Chick. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, so in the real world, You can negotiate a pay rate with a single individual within a company or an organization, and that does not necessarily mean that everybody else has to get an increase at the same time. I'm not saying that they don't deserve it or I don't want to have that discussion. I certainly do, but I think that this one request needs to be addressed, and then we can move on to those other things. There's a motion on the table specifically referencing Ms. Starbuck, and we've gone off in a different direction. So if we're done discussing Ms. Starbuck, we should probably vote.
Okay, Ms. Otto, did you have something you'd like to share?
No, I just had a question in regards to police and fire. Do they get benefits under their contract? Is my first question. And Mr. Dockett, this is Jackie Otto. The second question is that if we open this up for administrative, then it has to be opened up for everyone in the township that gets paid under the township. You just can't select a few people. It also has to be done for the wastewater treatment plant. It has to be done for everybody.
We don't have any more part-timers though, except in potentially the fire.
Yep.
And some police officers. So, I mean, across the board, we could provide a policy that would take care of that across the board.
I think I'm getting browbeat again.
No, if Miss Otto,
I'd like to have my turn one of these days.
Okay.
I'm done.
You're
I'm
done?
done.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Dockett. It's your turn.
Okay. I know you've given us, the Northfield Township Board, a lot of memos and information regarding Green Oak. What Green Oak Township pays and their wages and compensation. Their employees, Green Oak, it's a much larger township than Northfield Township. It's in a different county. I really don't think it compares to Northfield Township at all. But I've seen no memos. I've seen a lot of memos flying around, but I've seen no memos or other information about any other township on their second day open to the public after being closed down their offices for 12 weeks, which is 1/4 of a year. And then we have a special meeting scheduled to give part-time employees raises and more benefits, when the township should be trimming the budget, not adding to it. I will not support one bit of this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's see. Has everyone had an opportunity to weigh in on this?
And if Lenore's going to make it something that we're going to vote on, I need to hear that again, please.
Right. Well, some of you say, well, this whole special meeting is was about Ms. Patrick's request, and I called the meeting. Ms. Patrick did not call this special meeting. I called the meeting and felt that it was in the best interest of the township for us to look at this issue more completely, and which is why I added why I framed it as wages and compensation for part-time employees. And it's unfortunate that we have had to, that we are narrowing it down here, when I believe the attorney, well, and I know from my conversation with the attorney today, it's appropriate for us to develop a policy that works across the board.
I think we should call the question.
I think we haven't even approved the agenda, so I'm not really exactly sure where we are.
We don't have to approve we're on the agenda item.
We never approved the agenda. We took roll call. We
we
call
don't
the public.
actually, right, we don't actually have to have a motion to approve the agenda.
Before we
So,
can make motions. Okay.
So we are on agenda item number 1, and we're discussing wages and compensation for part-time employees. So this is where, it's unfortunate, we're having a discussion that we jump immediately to
Well,
a
can we have the
motion.
motion and then decide if we
without-
want to edit, modify this motion? Can we please hear the motion again?
So what was the motion, Ms. Manley? I made a motion that we would increase Ms. Starbuck's pay to $56.22. I appreciate that was my motion.
Is that $56.22 per hour versus right now she's getting paid $47.74 per hour? Is that correct?
Right.
What
Correct.
% increase is this?
I didn't calculate that, Ms.
And what was the number based on?
My number was based on the fact that when we posted the job, we said between $45 and $50. We hired Ms. Starbuck at the time, Ms. Patrick, at $45 because she did not have municipal experience. She now obviously has municipal experience and has a very valuable commodity. And the question is, do we want to pay for that commodity? To me.
So 47.74 to 56.22,
Yep.
I believe that's more than 10%, isn't it?
Yep. So what I did, Miss Bellinger, is I took the high pay rate of $50. Our employees have gotten increases of 6%, 4%, and 2%. I took that number, and that is how I came up to my logical number of $56.22. And you are correct. She makes $47.74. But
Well, why don't we take it off of what she's getting paid right now? And then if we wish to do an increase, base it off of that number.
that was not my position. My motion was based on the high end because now she has this experience. It is a valuable commodity. And
So the high end would be 50 an hour?
Take care. Thanks.
Is that
Bye.
correct?
Yep, that's correct. And that's what we posted between 45 and 50. So
Okay, but then you're taking the high end number and trying to add on to that.
I am indefinitely. She's a very valuable employee and I would like to keep her. And I thank Ms. Starbuck for actually giving us the opportunity to discuss potentially keeping her as opposed to just leaving us.
She is a very valued employee, but I think we need to talk about this. The rate seems
That's my
kind of
motion,
high to
Ms.
jump to
Bellinger.
such a degree.
That's my motion. And I
Thank you
would
for
say that-
clarifying it.
Yep, that's how I came. I think it's very logical. I think if other people come before us, I would apply the same logic. And I don't think it's individual. It's to me a very logical motion, or logical decision, not based on the individual person. And Miss Hospice, when we offered her the job as the deputy treasurer, she went to her employee and say, would you match the dollar amount that Northfield Township is offering? And they said no. So we were able to get Miss Hospice, and I feel lucky us. So I think Miss Patrick or Miss Starbuck has come before us, and it's an opportunity to either make an offer that she may accept or not. And that was my logic behind my number.
So the number, we could offer an amendment to the number.
You can certainly do that, Miss Mellinger.
May I ask a question, please?
Go ahead.
Wayne.
Sure.
I understand. It seems like we're talking about giving her $50 an hour. Is that correct?
It would be giving her, Mr. Dock, it would be giving her $56.22.
$56, did you say?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's correct.
Okay. So, and I understand that she works about 20 hours a week. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Dockett.
Okay. So 2 times, so it's a little over $1,000 a week or whatever.
Correct.
Okay. That's what we're talking about. Okay.
And so
All right.
I did, just for your
are we going to vote on this, or are we just talking about it?
We're discussing the number.
right.
Okay, well, when we're ready to vote, I want to make sure I understand so I can vote.
Okay, Mr. Dockett. So, Ms.
Thank you.
Bellinger, Ms. Bellinger, you were clarifying something with Ms. Zelnok.
Yeah, I think that anything beyond 10% is kind of extreme for a pay increase at this point. That's just my thought. That's my gut, because as we mentioned, we do have, you know, we have valued employees, and we also have a budget that we got to be very careful with right now.
Okay.
Yvette would like to.
Can Yvette say something?
I would like to hear from Yvette, and I would like to hear from Mr. Ains. So let Yvette speak at this point.
Thank you. This is Buck, Mr. Docket, for everyone. I presented a spreadsheet to the board. I emailed it to everyone. And my numbers broke down a full-time wage and benefit compensation package at, I believe, 118,000. It showed the full-time benefit package, okay, which is not what I currently receive. I don't receive any benefits, as we've discussed. I'm not asking for benefits. All I'm asking for is a compensation for a part-time, a part-time equivalent of those benefits. So I think Ms. Bellinger, looking at it as a pay increase is not exactly the logic that I would ask. This is an employment renegotiation. I am choosing to work part-time. I agree with everyone's comments about part-timers and benefits, but I think what you should consider is that I am asking for a part-time equivalent. I'm not asking for full-time benefits. And so by dividing that number in half, I got to $12,000. And I'm not even asking the board to give me that much. I think Ms. Zelnick's number is reasonable. I think that it puts me at a point where I can contribute to my retirement, again, at a proportional amount to the amount of hours that I work. I'm not asking for you guys to give a full-timer would give. Additionally, I do believe and would like to continue to work with the board and the staff to make sure everyone has fair compensation. That's hugely important. In this current economic workplace, it's becoming more common for benefits to be offered to part-timers. Usually they're equivalent to the amount of hours worked, but it is becoming more common. And I believe that Northfield Township should be open to different types of compensation in order to stay competitive and have the best possible staff. So I'd be happy to answer any further questions, but I do want to clarify that I'm not asking for a 10% raise. I'm asking to renegotiate my salary so that it is inclusive of the benefits of a part-time person so that I can afford those benefits as a human being that's just working. As a person that's working, I have to pay for that out of pocket, and I'd like to be able to afford that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ains?
A couple of things I'd like to say. One is the one potential employer that talked to Ms. Starbuck interviewed me, and I gave her excellent ratings in all categories. So I want that known first off. I do think she's been an excellent employee for the township. I don't think you could get somebody better in the role that she's in unless you get somebody with a whole lot more years of experience. But I do think she's got a lot of potential, and that's why I've sent her and the deputy treasurer to some of the training sessions I have, because I think they've got a long career ahead of them that will be beneficial whether they're here or elsewhere. Second, I was not here at the time she was hired, so I haven't been involved in any of those discussions. So she was here a few months before I arrived, so I didn't know what you advertised or what you might have promised or anything else at that time. What I was giving to the board primarily in my memo was the point that's made in the township MTA's compensation document. And that is that there's a dilemma for township employees or to elected people. And one is that the tendency is to give the lowest pays you can to all your employees because you're being fiscally careful with the township's money. And the other approach is to evaluate the impact on the turnover of employees, morale, and various other things if you have an employee leave. And I would say not only in Miss Starbuck's case, but we have a lot of good people here who, if they left, would leave a whole great big gap in our service. Even though we have 4 people trained to do work at the front desk, and she would be the 5th one. The others all have specialties like Ms. Starbuck, and so it would have a financial impact on you if this went vacant. So, I would recommend you take some sort of action tonight to assure her that you either are going to do something in total for her request, or you do a partial response with evaluating further in the next budget year. I'd also point out, when you're talking about salary reviews, she was kind enough to offer to help me with that study, and she ran into the same problem I did, that there's a lot of difficulty comparing comparables between one community and another, because we all have different job descriptions. I think the Building, Zoning, Planning Committee saw that when we were interviewing a couple of the communities, and the Personnel Committee has seen that you're unique. And when we start looking at comparables, there's always something you can say is not comparable, like Green Oak Township, but yet we always have their name mentioned in the comparisons. So, and I knew this was coming to you late, and I knew we wouldn't have much time, but that's because of the dilemma having to respond quickly to Ms. Starbuck. So, thank you.
Can we call the question?
Question.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Call the question?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you reread the motion, please?
My motion is that we increase Miss Starbuck's pay to a rate of $56.22.
So,
How much is this yearly, do you know?
It would be $58,471.30.
I'm sorry, you broke up. 50 what thousand?
well, I guess we need to vote on today.
I'm sorry, everybody's breaking up now. I'm hearing everybody.
So if we increase Miss Starbuck's pay to $56.22, it would be a cost of $58,471.30. I based that on 20 hours a week times 52 weeks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
And I believe that would be an increase of about $8,821.70.
And that start the first pay in July?
Yes, Ms. Manley. That's a good addition to the motion, starting in July.
I missed a lot of that. My phone shut me off, and I just came on. So how much, again, will this raise amount to?
So if I do my calculations, which I did by hand, so it could be a little off, I believe that would be an increase of $8,821 and I think 70 cents.
And you said
Are we talking about
58,000.
Are we talking about only wages?
Yes, Mr. Dockett is.
We're not talking about it. We're not talking about any benefits.
That is correct, Mr. Dockett. It is a wage increase.
Total, okay.
Yes, and again, my logic to come up with this increase was to base it on the high end of our posting, which was $50. And if you increase the salaries of 6%, 4%, and 2%, it would get us to $56.22.
If we did the 6%, you're saying?
6%, 4%, and 2% over the last 3 years. Because Ms. Starbuck has been with us for 3 years.
So you're saying you stacked them up?
I didn't, Ms. Bellinger. I did indeed.
Yeah.
But that doesn't add up. That's complicated, but it doesn't add up properly because 2% of a value is different than 4% of a value a year later.
Okay.
So I took 50%,
Well,
1.06% took
Yep,
that
she-
number, took 1.05%, of that number took 1.02%. So I gave the increase as if we would have hired Ms. Starbuck at $50 an hour, which was the high end, and I come up with $56.22. That's my motion.
Okay.
Starting in July, as Ms. Manley has interjected. Thank you.
Are you ready to vote?
We're voting on money only.
That's correct, Mr. Dockett, money only.
well, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
58,400
But
and
I would like to introduce.
The motion is just to raise her hourly rates basically to 56.22. The
That's
math
correct.
can all work out however it works out.
That's correct.
Okay.
Math can work out how it works out, and it's, I mean, I had logic to come to that number. It wasn't just a number picked from the sky. I think it's reasonable based on, you know, how valuable Ms. Starbuck is to our organization, how much she gets along with our other employees, how helpful she is. And I would like to keep her, and I hope she will accept our increase of that amount, but it's starting in July.
All right, can we vote?
I think
As the manager, is the supervisor going to make a motion afterwards?
I would hope
Well,
not.
We don't know.
I do have one, and it's unfortunate.
Well, I don't, that's just what I'm afraid of. I'm gonna have to vote no because, I know she's sitting there waiting to make a motion too, so, she'll pound
Oh, on
something.
that one, Mr. Dockett.
Mm-hmm.
So call the question. Can we vote, please?
Yep. Okay, you ready? Otto,
Yes.
Check,
Yes.
Manley, yes. Bellinger,
yes.
Dockett,
No,
Shockley. Think she's frozen. Zelenak,
Yes.
She's frozen.
Marlene's
Hold it
frozen.
in time.
Oh, it's too, no, I'm not frozen, but
Yeah, you sound
but
like
You
it.
sure sound like it.
I really feel that we have not discussed this appropriately. And so
we talked it to death.
I
What is your vote?
understand that it's
Did you vote
passing,
yes or no?
okay?
Yes or no?
So I will vote yes, but this really screws our other employees.
No, it doesn't. We can
Me?
still have a conversation.
Pardon, I didn't hear that.
Conversation, Ms.
Conversation.
Chockley, with our other employees. So
Okay, and we
I
will
hope Ms.
potentially rescind, okay, all
I
right.
hope Ms. Starbuck will accept
I
our
will vo- I
offer.
will vote-
and-
So Bellinger and Dockett were no.
No,
No, that's not correct.
Okay,
No. John was yes.
I voted yes. So you only
Okay,
have
thank
one
you.
no vote, and that was Dockett.
okay, thank you.
Right.
and I hope, as I said, I hope Ms. Starbuck will accept our offer.
Putting you on the spot.
Or think
She
about
can
it.
think
Well,
about it.
Yeah, yes,
I
thank
would
you.
vote-
Thank you for your support. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you, Yvette.
Okay, now, my proposal to be more consistent and to deal with all of the employees. My proposal, which would have worked out for Ms. Starbuck, would have been to provide a 10% match for the pension.
Marlene, you have a horrible connection.
Provide
We can't understand you.
a health
I'm-
buyout, which is,
Okay.
I just have a problem with my phone tonight.
Can we postpone
Okay,
this to
so
another
my
meeting?
proposal, well, it's pertinent, actually, and it's unfortunate that this board didn't.
Time out, Marlene. Time out for just a second. You will sound better, Marlene, if you can turn the video
I'm
off.
drifting
and you
off
can
to
get
sleep.
the audio more clearly.
If I can
I'm,
do what?
I'm drifting off to sleep here. I'm drifting off to sleep.
Okay, good.
The meeting over?
Good night, Mr. Dockett.
Are you leaving us, Mr. Dockett?
Good. Is the meeting over?
Not
Okay.
yet.
All right. Maybe if you can mute everybody else so I can get my point in.
If you
Okay.
turn off your video, you will be able to, you'll be able to speak clear. You'll sound better. Okay,
Okay.
give it to us.
Thank you. Okay. So my
Oh.
proposal was to go ahead with the 10% match for the pension. Miss Starbucks, a lot of Miss Starbucks' arguments for this is she wanted money to be able to have for her pension. So, and to be appropriately compensated benefit-wise. So if we were to provide a 10% match as the township for her wages, for the pension, even with the current wage level, which who knows if it could be, we could potentially increase it. But if we had the 10% match for the pension, that would be $4,965 with her current rate of pay. If we gave the healthcare buyout, which would be $2,000, which is half of what we provide for our full-time employees, and we provide holiday pay equal to half of what we provide our full-time employees, that would be $2,387. No, $2,864. And then if we provided holiday pay, which would be half of the holiday pay of the regular employees, that would be $2,387. And the total amount of compensation then would be $9,829. And that is at least a consistent calculation that can be used across the board for all of our part-time employees. So if they're a 50% equivalent, half-time equivalent, they get 50%. If they're 30 hours a week, they get 75% of the compensation of a full-time employee for benefits. So what I wanted to do tonight was to discuss having a consistent policy across the board that we could defend should there be charges that we are, not being fair to everyone. And I did discuss this with our labor attorney today. And, so I'm tend to be frustrated that we jump to decisions without considering the ramifications of it all. I did speak with MERS today. I did speak with our labor attorney, and that this is what I've come up with. And, I just hope that we could listen, but I'm sorry.
I'm going to interrupt to let you know that you sound a lot better.
Oh, good. Thank you.
You sound clear.
Good. Thank you. Okay. And I see that Miss Otto has her hand up.
Hand up first.
Okay. Whoever's got their hand, I'm sorry, I can't see everybody. Okay, Miss Chick.
Okay, so I'd be more concerned about jumping to conclusions about adopting a policy without seeing any figures attached to what those kind of increases in benefits would cost the township first. That's why we can always have this discussion at another meeting. We can still apply those policies if the board decides to do so. I just don't think that now is the right time to do it.
I agree.
And I was going to interject the same thing as what is the total benefit package that you're proposing? Because you were talking about 5 employees, or now we're 4. It could be more because we have to, I don't know if the fire and police department, how many part-time employees they have. So if you're looking at this across the board, we would have to see what is the total benefit package and how will it impact our budget.
Right.
I don't mind having that conversation either. I just don't think that we're prepared for it.
Okay.
You may be prepared for it, Marlene. The rest of us aren't. We're hearing, but I need to see the figures.
And I understand that. And that's why I wanted us to just talk about concepts tonight and then bring back an actual resolution. That's the important part. If we do something that's a policy that applies to all of our employees, we need to do it by resolution. And that's where all the details would be worked out, and there would be much more information for the board to consider. So I'm hoping that we can do that at maybe a meeting in July, But I realized that time is essential for Ms. Starbuck. What I don't want to do is mess up our opportunity with the other employees also. So that's where I'm coming from. And that's all. So I'm glad. Go ahead.
Before I move it over to Tawn,
Mhm.
I did want to say the reason why I voted on this for Yvette was Lenore's motion was in the ballpark that I was thinking of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I said, yep, I agree with it. But I do think that if we're going to do this, we need to really see what it's going to impact across the board and how often are we going to do this? And, the one thing that with Yvette, and I do recall, I know that she does not have a contract, but we may have some employees that do have contracts or will have contracts. We got to consider all of that. So I think that bringing this to a meeting, and I will say, while Marlene, you called it, I was the one that recommended it because I think that we needed to address it sooner than later on Yvette's part. So because Yvette took a risk on us.
Mm-hmm.
And that while we hired her at a point where she didn't have the experience, she put in a lot of investment into us during the time that we hired her and got the experience. And now we need to invest in her. It's just that simple. So
Okay.
I'll hand it over to you.
Okay. Who have we got else with hand up at this point?
Ms. Ballinger, Ms. Manley, and then myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with the pay increase type compensation. I will not support the can of worms with the benefits for part-time employees, other than just the PTO that we've discussed, which I believe is already in our employee handbook. Like I say, part-time, that's, as was mentioned earlier, a benefit of full-time. Working full-time is benefits. That's part of it. I'm glad that we were able to do something for Yvette tonight, and hopefully that'll work out. And let's see what the future brings. Thank you.
Okay. Who's next?
I'll
Kathy?
go. I just want to say, again, thank you, Yvette. And these are topics we probably should talk about. I just don't know the timing is right now. And if we are going to talk about it, we need numbers, we need figures, we need stats. It's more than just a general conversation. I think we need to get numbers in front of us so we know what we're talking about. And, Ms. Starbuck does many things in the office. She's helped out the clerk's office a lot. She's helped out the manager a lot, does many things that, she's asked of that she wasn't technically hired to do. So I'd like to thank her for that and stepping up. And I agree, the number that Lenore threw out was in the ballpark that I was thinking also. So I think we should save the rest of this conversation for a later date in person.
Yep. Okay. Do we have any,
Ms. Ellenak,
anyone else? Okay, Ms. Zelnok, go ahead.
So I think Ms. Chockley, what you need to consider is also your full-time employees when you offer this benefit. I don't know if you had the opportunity to talk to any of them when you sent out your memo. I think that would have been, you need to also talk to the full-time employees of the township.
Okay.
I don't think you understood the repercussions your memo would have on the full-time employees. And you don't have any employees right now. So I think that was an important aspect that you missed, is to consider what the full-time employees would think about your memo. And maybe all of them might want to go part-time, and that could be a benefit for all of us. But I don't think you considered that with your memo. And considering that you don't have anyone directly reporting to you, that was a miscalculation.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead. I don't get that, but go ahead, whatever.
Just one more comment is that, and I think people need to understand, if I have it correct, that offering the part-time or full-time staff 10% pension or contribution to a pension, they have to contribute 5% before they can get the 10%, correct?
Absolutely. Yes, they do. Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
they might not be willing to do that, or might not see that as a benefit. If they, as a part-time employee, they can't afford to do that.
Yeah. And then they wouldn't get the 10%, but you know, it's the same. It's
Okay.
an opportunity. Yeah. Well, I'm disappointed in some of the attitudes. I very much appreciate Ms. Starbuck. She's got a lot of wisdom that she provides to the office, and I've found her to be good counsel over the 3 years that I've known her. And I'm hopeful that this will keep her on with the township, but I'm also hoping that this will also provide the trigger for us to discuss our other part-time employees and what we can do for them. So it's a matter of discrimination for me, and a matter of fairness. And I don't look down my nose at a part-time employee just
Ooh.
because they're
Miss
part-time.
Chockley, Miss Chockley,
No
none of
discrimination.
us do. That is inappropriate.
Okay.
Inappropriate.
That's what I
Inappropriate.
feel. That's what I
Inappropriate.
feel the discussion has been.
Inappropriate.
Marlene,
Inappropriate.
part-time employees never usually ever get benefits. That's the
Inappropriate, Miss
part-time.
Chockley.
It's not
Okay.
discrimination. It's just part-time. A lot of people don't even need them because they have benefits from elsewhere.
Okay.
I think that's a wrong way to go. I'm so sorry
Okay.
that you feel that
Then
way.
maybe I'm misinterpreting things then, but you know, I do, when we can't have, when some of our employees can't, when some of our employees can't have paid time off, that's a problem to me. And, you know, I don't believe
So that when they
we
take-
offer enough.
That's a separate discussion
Yeah.
Yes. Okay,
Mhm.
we'll deal with that.
with
at a
numbers
future
and
meeting.
figures.
Okay, with numbers and figures.
Can we get to the
Okay.
second call of the public? We've already been here an hour.
I
Yeah, I
know.
think it's time to adjourn.
They did it
Yeah.
first.
We have to do call of the public first, Wayne.
Yep. Do we have
Well,
anyone?
I mean, there's no sense in just arguing about it. We already voted. It's time to
Okay.
move on.
Okay, Mr.
Amen.
Dockett, I'm
Amen.
trying to get to the call to the public now. Okay, do we have anyone who would like to speak at this time at call to the public?
Nobody knew about the meeting.
Well, there's a few. Okay, I'm seeing no hands up for call to the public, so I guess I will make a motion to
No second call to the board members?
board member comments. Here we go. Okay, board member comments, go ahead. And do we have any board member comments? I can't see.
Sure. I would like to make one. I would like to thank Ms. Starbuck for all her work for the township over the last 3 years. And she is a great employee, and I hope she will consider our offer and stay on as employment. And I also appreciate her coming to the board and giving us the opportunity to discuss it, as opposed to maybe just taking the job and not having that opportunity to potentially retain her as an employee. Because part-time, full-time, all employees are important. And I respect everyone in the office, no matter. I do not look at what job status they have. And I appreciate everybody's hard work. And so I just want to thank Ms. Starbuck again for giving us the opportunity to discuss and hopefully retain her as an employee of our township.
Okay. Ms. Bellinger, you have a comment last?
Yeah, I want to thank all of our employees, part-time and full-time, and thank you, Yvette, for reaching out to us. Keep up the good work, and have a blessed remainder of the week.
Thank you.
And quickly, if I could just say thank you to everyone again for considering this, for the support of not just myself, but the staff, and you know, even the conversation here. I understand everyone's on different sides, but I can see that the board does care about the staff, and that's really important. And so I look forward to continuing to work to serve the residents and support the work that we're doing in the township. So I appreciate you all. I do plan to remain at Northfield Township. So thank you.
Thank you, Yvette. Ms. Otto?
I just wanted to again thank Yvette for stepping up and in having a voice. Usually when people don't say things or speak out, it goes unnoticed. And I'm glad that you called it to our attention. I do want the public to understand that Yvette came to us when we were in dire need. And while she had excellent experience in accounting, she didn't have experience in municipal government. And she took the time. She took the time to learn. And she worked with our auditors. She worked with Lenore. She worked diligently. And it's time to repay her for those diligent efforts. So I really appreciate all that she's done. I appreciate everybody in the office as well. But we look at this a little bit differently during the times that we're in now. So thank you, and appreciate that you're staying with us.
Ms. Chick?
Well, I can't add to anything anybody's said because everybody feels the same way about Yvette. I've told Yvette that myself personally, so she knows that how grateful we are to have her, and I'm very glad that she's staying. And you know, she goes above and beyond in her job as well. So and puts up with us. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Who have we missed? Miss Manley? Did we
Wayne
get
have
you?
anything to add either?
I'm
Oh, yeah.
good. I already spoke.
Okay. Mr. Dockett? Oh, there he goes.
I would like, is it my turn?
Yes, it is.
I would like to say, I think we could have done this in 30 minutes rather than an hour and 15 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Did everyone have an opportunity to have board member comments?
I move to adjourn.
Okay, I'd like a board member comment.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I realize this has gone longer than anticipated. I appreciate everyone pulling in and doing this evening. And yeah, I think we all have the best interests of the township at heart and the best interests of our employees. We have some fabulous employees. And I just look forward to us working together to provide a good working environment for them, and talking about some of these things in the next fiscal year, so we can provide a good fair opportunity for all of our employees. So I guess at this point I would like to motion to adjourn.
Support.
Do I have okay, motion by Chockley, support by Bellinger. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I think I heard 4 people. Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.